everyone, my name is Diane and I work in Information Services at the Belleville Public Library. Today I'm going to walk you through the instructions for making your own summer decoupage lantern. The materials you need to make this summer decoupage lantern include a mason jar, or some sort of a container that has a nice smooth flat edge and can hold a tea light in it. You want paint brushes. You can use an artist's brush as well as a brush with a thicker edge to apply the Mod Podge. In your kit, we will provide you with the Mod Podge you need to make this craft and with a napkin. If you want to do something a little extra with the jar afterwards, you can take the rim and cover it in twine. The first thing you'll want to do to get ready for this craft is to thoroughly wash your jar. Dawn soap is always a good product because it takes the grease marks away, and that just helps your glue stick better. The napkin in your kit is a 3-ply napkin. You're going to want to take the 2 layers of the napkin apart from the main layer. So there's the first one. And you can just set that aside. And then here's the second ply. Pull this apart very carefully. You just don't want to tear the main part of the napkin that you're going to use to put on your jar. This size of napkin is perfect to go around the jar. If you just separate and cut half of it, it will fit just nicely around the size of your mason jar. You might have a few of the ends go slightly below or right up to the neck, but you're going to be able to place all of this there. Now to cut it, you can cut it with scissors and make a straight line, or you can take a wet paintbrush and brush across the line where you want to cut it, and that will just make a really nice edge, and it's more decorative than a straight line. So let's go ahead and use a water line on the napkin. When you cut this napkin in half, you actually have enough to make 2 lanterns, obviously, because you have another half to work with. So if you have more than one jar you want to do that with in your house, then you have a nice set to go together. Now you just gently tear the napkin apart. And there you have more of a decorative edge to work with. You can also wet the side of your napkin that's going to join together so that you can make that same edging along the side to be consistent with what it's going to look like at the top. And you just gently tear it away. There you can see the edges. The bottom doesn't really matter because it's going to be at the bottom of the jar. And now it's time to apply the glue to our jar. I like to use a brush that has a wider base. So you can spread this on and it doesn't dry too fast before you get a chance to put your napkin on there. I'm trying to use up the ends of a jar of Mod Podge. I've got a few here that are almost finished. I'm trying to stretch it as far as it'll go. Let's see what I have in here. Okay. You want to make sure you get it covered all the way up to the neck of the jar. Because your napkin's gonna fit all that way. Okay, and now it's time to place the napkin on here. You want to decide as you do this, back carefully out of the way, where you would like the front of the pattern to be. See, I don't want to put it on that side because there's a embossment on the jar, as you know, with a mason jar. So this will be the front, and I think I'm going to place it right about there. And then I'm going to carefully bring the napkin up on one side without too much of a tear. And you can roll the jar up on the other side. There you go. Now, you're going to take your plastic bag and you're going to just wrap it around like this. The reason why you're using this is because the plastic doesn't stick to the glue as much as your fingers are going to. You want to be able to smooth it out, and then you'll be able to take the plastic off more easily than if you were using your fingers to do this. Okay, let's take it off very carefully. And if there's any sections that you think you need to smooth out, just use your plastic bag to do that. This part wrinkled a little bit, so I want to carefully slide it down. Try and get that out of there. Smooth it down. And then up here you're going to have some overlap because it goes right up the neck of the bottom. The jar, I should say. And there you have it. It's now adhered to the jar quite nicely, and we're going to let this dry overnight. So it's the next day, and as you can see, the jar is now completely dry where we've placed the napkin, and now we're going to do the final seal on it. So you just spread the Mod Podge over top. It's had lots of time to dry, so it should have sealed well, and I don't think you're going to have any issues with any tears. Now I'm just doing the final touches with the Mod Podge, getting the last little bits of it on, making sure everything's covered, and just touching it up a little bit here and there. And there it is. It's completely covered. While you're waiting for it to dry, you can take the ring of the lid of the mason jar and decorate it. What I've done here, I'll just move this over, is I've dipped this twine in the Mod Podge, and I use my paintbrush just to run it through. So I'll pull it through and hold it still with the paintbrush so it gets covered in glue. And I've wrapped it around the lid of the jar, and obviously taken the centerpiece out. We don't need the seal in it, and this will be what goes on the jar when it's finished, and this has to dry as well. And here is the completed jar. This is your summer lantern that you can use for your patio, deck, balcony, any place outdoors or indoors that you like to spend your time. You can place a tea light within it. It's even large enough to put a larger candle inside. And the translucent finish makes it a very beautiful little summer lantern to enjoy. I hope you enjoy this craft. Take care. We have two excellent books at Belleville Public Library on the subject of decoupage. The first one is written by Leslie Lindsley, and the title is Decoupage. She goes into the history of the art form and shows you many different ways that you can use this art form in your decorating. The second is by Annie Sloan. It's called The Complete Book of Decorative Paint Finishes, and she has an entire chapter devoted to decoupage, where she provides you many great tips on how to do your own decoupage art.